I paid a company to work here. I pay Opendoor money to work here.
That's insane.
My salary is $1, and unless stock levels see levels they haven't seen in years, I don't get paid.
If you look at the companies that have made a meaningful difference in the history of the world and have become good companies, basically all the founders or the CEOs of those companies would have said words that sound like mine. Increase the stock price tomorrow by a penny or by $1. That's not the job. Over a long period of time, the stock price converges with the company. The company is not the stock price is not the company. The company drives the stock price, not the other way around. So if you build a great company, the stock price will reflect that over time. Only way to build a great company is to build something people want. The single largest expense on our income statement was millions of dollars paid to a well-known consulting firm. The advice was basically the following tweet: do everything worse but cheaper. And so everything got worse, not cheaper, just worse. And our job is to make it easier for them to own a piece of America.
Kaz, welcome to Sourcery.
Thanks for having me.
I don't know if it feels like a long amount of time or a short amount of time for you, but I interviewed Keith when you first started, and that was back in September of 2025. How have the last 6 months gone?
I mean, it's been like it's a deeply interesting experience. Like there's a couple of things that you kind of think about when you like are prepping for a new job. And like I never thought I would leave my last job. So taking this job was not unlike a thing that I thought would happen. But in hindsight, it has been so just deeply meaningful for me and my family. So like I judge my work week every week. I judge it based on like the 3 vectors that I judge. I called hard, valuable, fun. Was the week hard? Was it valuable? Was it fun? And it hasn't been that many weeks, but honestly, all of them have been hard. All of them have been valuable. All of them have been fun. And it does genuinely feel like we're making progress every single day, which is like very rewarding.
And this was entirely disruptive to your life. You joined a company that was at 50 cents a share, and it was about to be delisted. And then you get pulled in, recruited to this position. So what was it like going from Shopify, where I don't know, maybe it was nice and easy and a little bit more linear, to something that is completely abstract?
Okay, like the day I joined I remember when I joined Shopify in 2019, I left Facebook to join Shopify. And the number one question that my colleagues would ask me when I chose to join Shopify was, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that was number one question. Because like back then, Shopify was very broadly shorted. Like the day I joined, there was a short seller report that came out saying Shopify would go bankrupt in 12 months. And like now, like honestly, like even at the time, it was relatively obvious to me. People were like, Tobi had built this wonderful thing, and people were misjudging it. But from the outside, it was not like Shopify back then was not the winner it is today. And the process, people forget, the process of Shopify over the last few years was not like the easiest one. Like, it wasn't, going to COVID wasn't easy. Coming out of COVID wasn't easy. Like building like with AI wasn't easy. Getting into logistics it wasn't easy, but it was rewarding, which is like important. But the reason I like joined Opendoor was from the outside, like I had kind of become obsessed with the company. Like I remember, so I for fun take apart companies for fun. That's what I do. Like I read about the history of companies, I take them apart. And in February 25, I was flying from Dallas home. I remember this like it was yesterday. And for reasons that I can't explain to you, I'm like, let's pick apart Opendoor. Let's see what happened to it. And I was on a plane. And from the time I took off to the time I landed, it was like a 3.5, 4-hour flight. I remember getting off the plane and being just outraged by what had happened to this company.
Really?
I was just so angry about it. And like, so then I spent almost every weekend thinking about Opendoor and going through Opendoor and like using the product, figure out what had happened.
What made you angry?
Look, I think the problem Opendoor is trying to solve is a deeply meaningful one. And there's like nothing worse to me than seeing opportunities wasted. Like when you see someone who doesn't know how to play basketball that well, if they play basketball poorly, they're like, well, you're not that good. Like it's fine. You're good to go to something else. When you see someone who's an excellent basketball player just throw away the talent, like everyone gets angry. Everyone's like, no, this should turn out better. And Opendoor should turn out better. So like it got to a point where like at dinner every night, my wife and I would talk literally only about Opendoor. To a point where my wife at one point was like, okay, we've talked about Opendoor enough. Can we please just go buy some shares in the company so we can stop talking about this? And I said, well, like it's not really the type of company we can buy that much shares in because it's not that big. And then she said, how big is the company? And I think the market cap was a few $100 million back then. I'm like, I don't know, a couple $100 million. And then she said, well, why don't we buy it? So like my wife's plan, literally, genuinely, honestly, was that we would like sell everything we owned, leverage ourselves as much as we could to take Opendoor private so we could fix it. So I called Keith back in, I think, April. And it was, hey man, I'm thinking of doing this. Will you do it with me? So that was my intro to Opendoor, because from the outside, I was just so like, it was so obvious to me this problem was one worthy of solving. It was a problem that you should dedicate your life to solving. Because when kids grow up in homes that their parents own, their life outcomes are better. Like when people buy homes, crime goes down in the neighborhood. And like it's a deeply meaningful problem to solve. And it's been basically untouched by technology. So I thought it was one worth solving. And I'm just, a couple months into the job. I still feel as strongly about it as I did back then.
How do you feel about doing this correction, this turnaround as a public entity versus a private entity? Did you ever think about taking it private?
I mean, I did. I was going to. That was my plan. My plan was to take it
After
private.
joining?
No, it's not. Look, I think there's like basically two reasons to take like this company private, and just only two. There's one way in which running a public company is harder than running a private company. Like one real way. And that is people will write things about you in newspapers. So if you care about what the Wall Street Journal writes about you, running a public company is difficult. Luckily for me, I just don't give a fuck. Like I do not care what things look like. I care a lot about what things are. And there's frequently a dissonance between those two things for a very long time, right? And over time, the distance gets smaller and smaller as we execute against the mission. But at the beginning, lots of people are like, what the hell is this thing? It will never work, etc. So that's like, if you care about that, this is harder. But I never got into fancy clubs when I was a kid. I never really cared about like, I don't know, I've never cared about being a Forbes 30 under 30, 40. I've never cared about these things. I care about other things, just not these things. So in that way, it's not harder for me. There's a second way in which, like, you could say, well, we should take Opendoor private. And that is, I think you could reasonably argue that it would be more monetarily good for me and my family. Because we have higher, like I believe in the company, we've bought shares on the open market. You can take, but like I also don't care about that. Like I just don't that much. Like I'm like, my salary is $1 for a reason.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So when you joined, your salary is $1. You're weighted heavily on performance, and that's what your equity package will potentially award you. How do you balance that, and what is the motivation for you behind that versus having that job at Shopify?
Look, I think there's two things that are true. Let me just like say both of them. The first is this. I find that if you do something for money, the half-life of your ability to put up with pain is very low, right? Everyone intuitively understands this, right? Like, that's just like a very real thing. But if you do something because you believe in the cause, like you will be much more durable. You'll be able to do a lot more. So I do this. I come to work every morning. We work very hard at Opendoor because we believe in the mission. Like everyone who works here believes in the mission. I believe in the mission. My family believes in the mission. My 6-year-old son believes in the mission. Like we believe in this mission. So for us, we're on this journey because the outcome matters. Like it matters to us what happens to the average homeowner. And second, I do think like I'm not indifferent to the stock price. Like there's no one who's a more highly levered on Opendoor stock price than I am. Like I'm number one by far, right? Like I paid a company to work here. Like I get paid a salary of $1, but I have to pay for my benefits. So I paid a company, like I pay Opendoor money to work here. And unless the stock price gets to levels that it has not been in a very, very long time, like this will be a bad financial outcome for my family.
Think that's insane.
I don't know. Like I think generally, like if you look at the companies that have made a meaningful difference in the history of the world and have become good companies, basically all the founders or the CEOs of those companies would have said words that sound like mine. Imagine you're in a room with Jeff Bezos when Amazon dropped by 90%. Or you're in a room with Ernie from Carvana when Carvana dropped 90%. Like they didn't say, like their position would not have been, my job is to increase the stock price tomorrow by a penny or by $1. That's not the job. Like over a long period of time, the stock price converges with the company. Right? The company is not the stock price is not the company. The company drives the stock price, not the other way around. So if you build a great company, the stock price will reflect that over time. And the only way to build a great company is to build something people want. I think the rest of it is just genuinely not like, I think history has proven. I don't actually understand this. Like there's like I don't have like Yahoo Finance like on my laptop. I just don't. There's like you've walked around the office, the stock ticker is nowhere. I have a copy on my desk. There's a copy in the book bar of the Bill Walsh's book, The Score Takes Care of Itself. Football players who look at the score all the time tend to be not very good football players. And people who watch ESPN and look at the football score tend to not be good football players. Like our job is to focus on fighting for every single inch, every single yard, every single day. And that tends to get you to the right place.
We were talking about how you took over the company. You're coming in with a mission. But I think more importantly, you're really bringing a founder mentality into something that was dead. It was like a shell of a company and shell of a culture. And now there's literally a cult following. You have the army around you, the open army. And then you have, you have people like me and people like Keith who are just pounding the table and want more Opendoor. So could you share, like, why is it so important to have a founder mentality with such a big turnaround like this?
In order to create things that have not been created before, you need like exothermic energy. Like we're not a widget factory. Like the thing we don't do is like optimize the creation of a thing over and over again and try to turn like $1.10 into $1.12. That's not our job, right? If that was our job, then you can imagine like a professional manager being good at it, right? Like just look at the knobs, turn them slightly, like. But I find in the history of American corporations, and for what it's worth, I think this is a uniquely like North American problem because it's not true in Japan, for example. But in the history of American corporations, you get these significant moments of alpha followed by a slow decline once managers take over, right? And you can think of your favorite big company where it had that significant moment of alpha and then the decline happened. So I think the right words to use is not whether the founder is working at the company or not. The right words to use is the founder chair taken or not? Is someone sitting in the founder chair, or is there around every single meeting table in the company an empty chair from someone whose job it is to call bullshit on things? Right? So look, I'm not anyone's ideal dream of a corporate CEO. Like if you like go to Harvard Business School and imagine what a CEO looks like, it ain't me. But I'm very good at building products, right? And I care a lot about the details of everything. And what that allows me to do, allows Opendoor to do, is to do things that are unusual. We are not going to be a beta company. We're a high alpha company. You can only generate that. You can only generate extraordinary outcomes if you do extraordinary things. Like the best way to get the same outcome as everyone else is grab a consulting firm, ask them what is the best practice in X industry, and do that. But what that gets you is what the industry does. Our job is to create a new world, and you can't do that without founder energy.
When you came in, I heard you read all the expense items line by line, and you came across a very chunky consulting fee that probably did nothing. But could you talk about the process of coming in and what you cut immediately?
I went through literally every single invoice the company had paid for the previous 12 months. I'm like, I did two things. I went through like every single employee and every single expense. I'm like, well, these are the capital allocation of the company is determined by who it hires and like what we pay for. So I went through everything. And I was just genuinely shocked by how many consultants build Opendoor money. Like it was just like dozens and dozens of external consultants who build Opendoor money for things that I thought were useless. There were consultants billing Opendoor money to create presentations for internal Opendoor meetings.
No.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is insane. This is just like the nuttiest thing. By the way, I think it's a common pattern in American corporations where there are external consultants whose job it is to help you create presentations so you can present it to other people inside your company. Right? That's just insane. It's just nutty. So two interesting things happened. One is we were working on the earnings, on the release that would announce me. It was Google Doc. We're working on a release. And I'm reading this thing and I put in all caps on top. This is before I was working here. I put in all caps above the doc, who is writing this? Whoever it is, can they please stop working here? And I didn't know, transparently, I didn't know the Google Doc was open. I thought it was just me and the board member like going back and forth. But turns out our external PR firm who was drafting the release was in the doc. So they resigned before I showed up, which was good because we didn't have to pay him their 90 days notice period, which was helpful.
It's very helpful.
And the second thing that happened was the single largest expense on our income statement was millions of dollars paid to a well-known consulting firm whose advice can be approximated as the following. We paid him $5 million for this. The advice was basically the following tweet: do everything worse but cheaper. And so everything got worse, not cheaper, just worse. Because that's literally what happens when you come in and say, cool, you're going to do everything you're doing right now, but cheaper. And everyone rationally understands if you do everything you're doing right now at lower cost, you get worse quality. That's like like my 5-year-old daughter could tell you this. But we spent millions of dollars to learn this lesson. So part of our job at Opendoor and the company, like the entire company is now dedicated to this. If you go around, you'll see people have stickers. You can actually find them that say charges by the month, pay with your life. Like we are dedicated to getting rid of every single thing that we pay for that is not deeply useful to our mission.
Sourcery is brought to you by Brex, the financial stack trusted by more than 30,000 companies, including 1 in 3 venture-backed startups in the US. Nearly 40% of startups fail because they run out of cash. Brex is literally built to help founders avoid that. Unlike traditional banks that let your money sit idle, chipping away at it with fees, Brex is designed to help you spend smarter and move faster. Their all-in-one solution combines checking, treasury, and FDIC protection into one powerful account. You can send and receive money globally at lightning speeds, get 20 times the standard FDIC coverage through their partner banks, and even high yield from day one. With same day and even same hour liquidity, access your funds anytime. Companies like Scale AI, DoorDash, ServiceTitan, Hims, Anthropic, Flexport, Robinhood, and Plaid trust and use Brex. Start today at brex.com/sorcery. That's BREX.com/sorcery. Turing is training the next generation of AI with tasks that require real expertise and real-world judgment. That's why companies like NVIDIA, Anthropic, Salesforce, and Gemini partner with Turing. Turing builds realistic reinforcement learning environments and data systems based on real operational traces, the kind of infrastructure frontier labs need to train superintelligence. Visit turing.com/SOURCERY. When I talked to Keith, he mentioned a couple of very aggressive things that he wanted to happen to the company. He rejoined the board, you joined the company, you're CEO. The board seems super hands-on. When I talked to him, he talked about how there were 1,400 employees. He wanted it to cut down to around like 300. Has that happened?
I mean, no, look, I think Keith's insight was a correct one, genuinely correct one, which is that for the output Opendoor was getting, it did seem to have an unusually high OpEx. My problem is also it's a different one, which is I am offended when people do things that human beings should no longer do. Like if you walked into an office building and you saw someone using the Gutenberg press to create an internal memo for distribution, you'd be offended. If you saw a bunch of people running around delivering mail like it's 1962, you'd be offended. But it's like, this is just not what human beings should do today because we've learned lots of stuff. So I think generally, I think there was a lot of work happening at Opendoor where, let me give you an example. When I got here and you went to opendoor.com and typed in your address, we'd say, great, we're going to send someone to your house to take pictures. Someone would come to your house to take pictures. Then would ship these pictures to overseas, where someone on a laptop, on a very bad laptop, on a Chromebook, would look at them, circle the areas that needed to get repaired. Then they would send that to someone else overseas, and then it would just do that, and then down the chain. So between the time you put your address in and you got an offer, there'd be 11 human beings who touched that. That's insane. That's just an insane outcome. Today, 0 human beings are in that loop in many of our flows. AI does all of that, which means our human beings can do things that are actually good for the mission. Let me give you another example. This is actually my favorite one. Because of the advice we got from this consulting firm, we offshored customer support of Opendoor to Mexico. And in my second week here, I was sitting with the head of our customer support team. I'm like, let's call together our customer support line. Because I do this, I use our product. So I picked up the phone and called the customer support line. And I said, hey, I'm Kaz. I would like to buy this house that I'm seeing on the website. How do I do that? And the customer support agent said, I'm not kidding about this, said, have you heard of google.com?
No.
I'm like, yes. He goes, could you type in google.com on your browser and type in how to buy a home from Opendoor? I'm like, okay. And then it went down the chain from there. If you have human beings doing that work, it is bad for that person, bad for Opendoor, and bad for capitalism. I think what we should be able to say is this, that every single person that works at Opendoor is the most efficient human being possible at the thing they do. And I think that's the end goal of the company, and we will work towards that every single day.
So what employee changes have you made?
I mean, one of the first things we did was Opendoor used to be a remote company. Yeah. You've noticed we're no longer remote. On my first day at Opendoor, I said, hey, we're going back to the office. Everyone has 7 days. And so a bunch of our colleagues decided not to join us on that journey and left the company because they didn't want to work for an in-person company. And we wished them the best. Um, we had double-digit attrition because of that. And it was, good people. We wished them the best. But the company got smaller as a result of that. We have a lot of, if you look around, we have hired more YC founders into Opendoor since I started than any company.
Why?
Because I believe that you can only do extraordinary things with founders around or people who act like founders. So if you just walk the floor, you'll see that there's a shocking number of people with an orange Y undershirt. So quite a few of them are, entire mortgage team is YC founders. Our entire escrow team is YC founders. And the company is the goal of the company is to become far more technical, to look more like a software company than a manufacturing company. That's a path we're walking down.
Has it been hard to maintain culture with that? If you're bringing in an entirely new culture to something that was...
I don't think Opendoor had much of a culture. Transparently, I think what happens to companies when they're run by professional managers is culture atrophies. What happens, this is a real thing. People have a caricature in mind of what leadership is. They think of a job of a leader is to stand in front of a room and be mascot as CEO. Rah, 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 we shall go over that hill. That's that's not what the job is. The job is to hire great people, train them well, tell them what the priorities are and inspire them in that order. Right? That's the order of importance. I think lots of people pretend culture is beer on tap in the office. That's just lazy. That's the abdication of your responsibility to people's careers. So I don't think Opendoor had that much of I think it was I find the best thing for culture is this. Tell people who you are. Say things that people can reasonably disagree with. Because if you say a thing everyone agrees with, you've said nothing useful. Right? And then win together. The best thing for culture is doing hard things together in person. High school football teams have cultures because they do things together that are hard in person, right? What isn't that much of a culture is the Dunder Mifflin office in the office. That's not a culture, right? Having Taco Tuesdays is not a culture. It's a caricature of what other people should do.
For you, it seems like you're entirely authentic to yourself. I listened to a couple of your interviews in the past. There's a really good one with Anthony Pompliano, and you were talking about how you sold a company, I think it was to Facebook, and you join and you're cursing around, you're dropping F-bombs left and right, and you're hit with the reality that you can't talk like that in there, and it was a hindrance to you and your personality. So how do you carry that in this role?
It's generally hard. And I talk to company transparently about this. I am not close to being well-rounded. I'm not a good approximation of an average human being. I'm just not. This is a very real thing. I'm edgy in basically every reasonable way one can be edgy. So I have two choices, right? Choice one is I can go become well-rounded and become a pale pink imitation of myself. Or two, I can be not become well-rounded, become edgier and surround myself by people who are edgy in the opposite way. I've chosen the second path because I don't want to pretend something I'm not. I don't ask anyone to pretend something they're not. But I think the best way to explain this is this. If you go to an Italian restaurant and complain that the sushi is bad, that's your fault. That's just your fault. But if you go to a place labeled restaurant, where the menu includes literally everything on there that you can order, and you order something that's bad, that's their fault. Right? My job is to actually describe the type of place this is, and lots of people will not want to work here. In fact, less than 1 in 100 people will ever want to work here. That's fine. We have a very high bar. Our career page tries to do a very good job repelling you and convincing you not to apply to come here. But once you're here, we want you to be committed to the mission. My job is to accurately describe what it feels like to work here. And I think people say I'm honest about it.
Well, before we started and the cameras were on, we were talking about how important attention to detail is and staying true to your quality bar. And so with that and this, aggressive personality, how much of that and that personality and maintaining a quality bar do you think is synonymous with success?
I don't know, honestly. I can tell you this, like, I try very hard to um, criticize things, not the people who create those things. I think it's kind of useless to hold your past self guilty. So if you see me in a product review, I frequently say, this fucking sucks. I very rarely say, you fucking suck. Like, the work is the work of Opendoor. So Opendoor has failed when it produces something that is not good. The individual people who worked on it may be excellent, right? So we just have to keep working at that. And that's like a real thing. I don't have another way of doing this. For what it's worth, I think there have been successful people who don't pay that much attention to details, who are relatively macro driven. They place good macro bets on what the economy is going to do and don't pay that much attention to details. And that can be a very successful, or at least profitable career. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm just not. I care a lot about the pixels. I care a lot about the API. I care a lot about the database. I care a lot about the words we say. I call our customer service lines. I talk to our salespeople. I care that this thing that we put out there is a reasonable representation of ourselves. And every day we should wake up and be deeply ashamed of it and want to make it better. So I don't know. I don't know. The answer to your question is I don't know how much of that is important for the average person's success. I can tell you that I don't know how else to do it. Like, if I honestly, it's a very real thing. I grew up as an immigrant, and I had a very hard time with cultural norms that were commonly understood if you grew up in North America. So there was a club I wanted to join, and I applied to join it when I was 18. I got rejected. I applied to join it when I was 22. I got rejected. I applied to join it when I was my 25. I got rejected. I finally got accepted as a member of this club when my wife became the president of the club. Like, I'm just like not, like, I'm just not good at the type of things that the average CEO would be good at. I'm terrible at glad handing. I can't work a room. But I can look at, like, I can look at dev docs and look at an API shape and look at the pennies that get spent adding product features and make them better.
It's so interesting you say that because for this role in particular, in this moment of time, for any public company, being public facing is key to it. And having a presence online, you've had a tremendous presence on X. You're building out a community there. I know you're also doing live streams on Robinhood and throughout various
Our
chapters.
earnings was the most watched earnings in history. The
Really?
last national open house we did broke records for how many people watched it.
No.
Yeah, by a lot, but not by a little, by a lot. We should fact check this, but I think at one point we had 55,000 live viewers. Not like live viewers of the actual thing, which is like the average earnings call is watched by approximately 3.5 people. Like we had 50, like just live, lots of other people watched it. We had 55,000 live viewers at one point.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's okay. So how do you think about that? So you're very product driven, but this is also very marketing driven and being a public person. So, okay, how much of your role is the marketing part or the product part, or is it both? And how do you do it all?
I think I am lucky that X and other tools allow me to talk directly to people. Like that is like, and long form interviews are a thing today. I'm telling you, like, 2 decades ago, I would have been terrible because like when I can talk directly to people, like I can look at someone in the eye, say, "Hi, I'm Kaz. This is who I am." I think they can see me and see I'm being genuine and honest, and they're like, "Cool, let me give this person some rope." But when I talk to people through people and short form, like I end up always sounding like an idiot, and almost sounding like at least inauthentic. Like you have questions. Apparently, like I had gotten some sense of like what this was supposed to be. I didn't look at it because like if I had looked at it, I would have sounded fake,
Yeah.
right? So I don't prep for these conversations. If you, I came from there, sat here, and we're talking. There's no like, we don't have a PR department. Like if you email press@opendoor.com, get an email back saying we don't have a PR department. If you want to talk to someone, DM Kaz on X. And then I usually respond. And I've gotten myself in trouble, I admit, because I respond on X to people who DM me, and sometimes I don't realize they're reporters.
Oh.
And like that gets coded. And like so anyway, but yeah, I think like the modern communication methods allow me to be authentic and long form, which is like helpful. It helps a lot. It helps like fit me into this new world, which I wouldn't have had this job 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Just zero chance.
Have you said anything on X you regret?
Oh yeah, lots.
Like what?
Oh no, like lots. Like I've said like so many things I regret. I tell you, there was a thing I said on X years ago that got taken out of context that I regret a little. I read a lot because I'm a nerd and I do. So there's a book called Protestant Work Ethic by Max Weber, which I think is insanely insightful about the modern world. So I quoted it on X years ago, talking about like the importance of Protestant work ethic as a book, not an idea. Like it was a capital P, or like the book is called Protestant Ethic, and like anyway, it doesn't matter. So I quoted this book. I think people thought I was saying that like only Protestants work hard, which I thought was such an unreasonable take on like the post. Like you have to really twist yourself into a knot to believe that. Like I grew up Muslim. I've been to more mosques than the average person. Like, and I thought it was like, so that was like, it was only annoying because I think like my colleagues had to defend me and that felt weird. But no, I don't post things on X because I think there's zero chance of causing trouble. I just don't. Because if I did, I would become like, I don't know, I'd be hiding in that corner crying. That's just not what I do. I don't know if it's the worst word. I don't recommend that people adopt this method of running a company. That's really weird. Like when you work like I do and have the job that I do, it is at times lonely. In fact, it's very frequently lonely. So I don't recommend doing it this way. If you can do it the way that it's traditionally done, I recommend you do it that way. But this is how I can do it.
Why is it lonely?
It's just like look, it's a hard look. I deeply admire my colleagues. They're just wonderful. They're just wonderful, wonderful people. But if you talk to like anyone who's a founder type, like you're essentially at perpetual war. And it isn't like, it's not relaxing. But there's a very real thing. Look, it used to be true that if you were a teacher, you could on a one salary buy a home in Arkansas, raise your family, and be happy. That used to be true not that long ago in this country. And the fact that it used to be true that not long ago in this country is the main difference between America and the rest of the world. It is why America is the country it is, because people have owned the ground that they stood on and raised their family there and said, I belong here. You cannot tell me what to do. The fact that it's no longer true is deeply saddening to me. So like, I am only like, massively driven by the mission. Like, we talk about that teacher in Kansas City, that plumber in Arkansas, and our job is to make it easier for them to own a piece of America. And so that makes it incredibly rewarding. It doesn't mean it's not hard or lonely, but it is very rewarding.
I think this mission matters so much, and that's what has kept me around so long, and what's kept the people who have been here for a while, is recognizing how broken the existing process is, and the fact that we believe that our solution is not just important to our customers, but to America, like, generally. And just having, again, another chance at, kind of cracking that code is just something I'm really grateful for.
Some of you may not have heard this yet, but our sponsor Public just launched something called Generated Assets, and it brings AI into investing in a way I've honestly never seen before. Here's how it works. You type in an idea like AI-powered supply chain companies with positive free cash flow, or defense tech companies growing revenue over 25% year over year. Public's AI then dispatches a swarm of agents that scan every single US stock, evaluates them, and instantly builds a custom index around your thesis. What really stands out is how clearly it explains why each stock is included. And before you invest, you can even backtest your idea against the S&P 500, so you're making decisions with real context, not just guessing. And beyond generated assets, Public lets you invest in stocks, bonds, options, crypto, all in one place. They'll even give you an uncapped 1% match when you transfer your investments over from another platform. If you want to build a portfolio that actually reflects your thesis, visit public.com/Sourcery. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in the description. Founders, ship faster on deal. Set up payroll for any country in minutes, hire anyone anywhere, get visas handled fast, and get back to building. Visit DEEL.com/Sourcery. That's DEEL.com/SOURCERY. I love how much all of that stuff enrages you. You're like, this is wrong. We need to redo it. And I don't know. I feel like some people would feel they would hesitate towards taking that action. But why do you think it's so important to take action?
I don't know. Look, I think first of all, this is how I am. I've always been like this. The time between decision and action has been always short in my life. Like, we've moved across country in one day's notice. Like, I took this job within the entire negotiation for this job was 10 days or something. So I've always been that person. But I also think that people misprice risk in their head, and they think waiting reduces risk. And in my experience, it just fucking doesn't. It doesn't, right? All it does is take time away from time you could be spending doing other things. What's the worst that could happen? We'll just paint over that wall again. Let's just go do that thing, then move on to the next thing,
Mm-hmm. And that's core to your whole, I don't know, what is it? It's not like a catchphrase, but I guess ethos or something like that. But it seems like it's entirely core to your whole faster.
It's not the faster is not a new line. I've been saying this my entire career.
Yeah.
I value speed above everything else. Everything else. My job is to learn more. All companies are, literally all companies are a collective effort to learn. And if we learn faster, we do more. So all that matters, right? Now, if we do things faster, we'll also be wrong more frequently. But we would have been wrong that frequently just over a more stretched out amount of time. So let's just learn faster.
So who's on the board? I've looked at the list. It's an incredible list of names.
Look, our board, I think there's a kind of two ways to build a board for a company. The first is you build a board such that people who are on the board get out of your way and show up to a meeting once a quarter, have some shrimp cocktail, put up their hand, and then get back on the private jets and go away. The most common way American boards are built, right? Find people who sound impressive, who've had a career, but who've usually been retired for many years. So therefore they don't have any recent experience. Put them on a board and just optimize for them saying yes over and over again. That's one way of doing this. That feels like an obscene waste of time and money to me. Imagine having to do a song and dance in front of people where the answer will be yes. What is the point of that? That's just deeply useless. The second thing you can do is this. Say, hey, who are the people where I would pay money to have dinner with them? Like, who are the group of people that I would pay money to have dinner with such that they can talk about my job? So I talked to one of our board members this morning. I talked to one more members yesterday. So my frequency of communication with the board is way higher than the average CEOs. But we also understand that their job is to give advice and my job is to do things. And I ask them for advice all the time. I think they thought I was kidding when I was saying they would get texts from me almost every day, but they do. And they're excellent. Just generally, I would put up our board against any other board. We have people who...
Who's on it?
So our lead independent director is Eric Federer, who is from Lennar, one of the greatest companies in the history of America, the largest builder in America. Keith and Adam, who are probably two of the best investors in Silicon Valley. Eric, who founded this place and is just genuinely wonderful. And Dana, who has a very long history in residential real estate, understands it deeply. And David, who was an interim CEO of Fannie, understands mortgage financing, understands the space, is deeply in tune with a part of my job where I am objectively less good, which is understanding why stocks do what they do. And he's just an excellent board.
What have they been measuring you on?
So look, actually, I had a very good conversation with our board members before I joined, and I talked to all of them before I joined. And I was lucky in that it was a double opt-in system for me and the board. I'm like, cool, we're in this together. And I remember having conversations with one of them, 3 a.m. one night, where I'm like, hey, I will do this, but you have to commit to also do this for the next 3 years. You and I are doing this together. And I said I had a similar conversation with a few of them. And the conversation I had with all of them was this. I will optimize my day-to-day work for what it is and not what it looks like. There will times where it will look weird. And my ask of you is always ask, is this actually weird or does it look weird? If it looks weird, please give me a rope. If it is weird, push back, ask me questions. So that's been primary back and forth. And so what we have is a more involved conversation where we don't go from 3 months without talking. I think for my first month on a job, I talked to one board member at least every day. Because we were look, when I got here, the company's balance sheet had a ticking time bomb on it. It wasn't obvious how the company was going to survive that ticking time bomb. Now, luckily, we've cleaned it up. The balance sheet is incredibly healthy. But for the first 10 days, it was just not that obvious.
What's the weirdest thing you've done?
For what's worth, I don't recognize it when I do weird things. People afterwards tell me that was weird, but they don't feel weird to me. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't do them. I don't know. I think people would say we went back to office in an odd way. I showed up on a Monday, my first Monday at work, and I said, hey, everyone, by next Monday, we're back in offices. At that point, we didn't have offices. We didn't know where people were going to go. So we had to the team had to go sign leases, open up offices, get badges, and people had to pick where they were going to move to relatively quickly. So I think that was unusual. It didn't feel weird to me, but I agree it was unusual. Is that weird?
It could be weirder, if I want to be honest.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm for this.
Yeah. You should do weirder things, honestly.
I'm going to try very hard not to optimize for that.
Don't hold back.
I'm not. In case it's not obvious, this is not even if I wanted to hold back, I wouldn't know how to.
When I prepared, I re-listened to the conversation we had with Keith, and he said some really lovely things about you. This was right at the courtship. It was a beautiful moment. But he said, well, one, he said 99% of everything matters. Everything that matters is the CEO. So picking you and having you join, that's a big deal. He said in describing you, he's both bold and ambitious, but very disciplined and rigorous and analytical, and that's a rare combination. A company like Opendoor needs to be rigorous and analytical, but it can't sacrifice the ambition and the boldness and the willingness to do things and push the envelope to create and innovate.
It's kind. I mean, I think there's a very, I think if I were like going back in time, there are some things that are odd about me. I was, in high school, I was both a rugby player and a mathlete. I did math competitions on the weekends and I played rugby. So I have like a nerd's mind, but a relatively high pain tolerance for like outcomes. And that I think has been helpful to me in my career, in that I can understand risk better than most people can, but I'm not afraid of it. And so that has been genuinely helpful. And I'm glad Keith agrees.
From your time at Shopify, what were the biggest lessons you learned there from Tobi?
First of all, Tobi is one of one. Like there's a reason why everyone says he is the founder other founders like. He's one of one. Let's just like, I think it's hard to exaggerate that. The thing I deeply appreciated about Tobi is he had found words for ideas that are hard to describe. Let me give you like the one that I think is incredibly important. There is an idea in finance called a discount rate. I went to business school and they say there's only 3 rules you learn in business school. Money is good, more money is better, money now is better than money later. Those are the 3 rules of business school. So everyone has this intuition about discount rates, i.e. if you give me $100 today, that's better than $100 tomorrow. But unfortunately, everyone has a wrong intuition about it. People apply too large a discount rate to future. So what ends up happening is people very frequently sell future growth at a massive discount for today's stock price. And the result of that, by the way, very objectively, is PayPal. Like over and over again, that company made all the wrong decisions because they cared more about today than 10 years from now. And guess what? It is now 10 years from now. And the company is in deep trouble. I realize that most public company CEOs also don't talk this openly about other public companies, but it's true. So, but Tobi had this very wonderful mentality of applying essentially a 0 discount rate to future growth. He was just like, it's like, cool, growth tomorrow or growth today, I'm indifferent. I will never sacrifice growth tomorrow for growth today. And if you do that in your head, what actually ends up happening is, because human beings always misunderstand compounding growth, is you end up getting way higher growth later on. You end up being right. So I think it's a very hard thing to do in practice, because you have to look at a chart and say, nah, I'll take some of it later. That's very hard, but it is why Shopify is just, I think there's like 2 SaaS companies that stand differently than the rest. It's like Palantir and Shopify. Those are the 2. I think it's partially because they do things that are just so different than every other company.
As we wrap up talking about the future, we could model this out over 10 years, but I also know you work weekly.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to next week?
Oh, it's going to be great. I'm actually really excited about this. So by the time, when will this release?
Monday.
Okay, by the time this releases, our mortgage product will be out in beta. I won't tell you where. I'm really, really excited about it. I think it would be, it's early. It's very early. We haven't launched it, but like it is going to be very good. So I'm actually going to spend some next week doing personal customer support on the product.
Fun.
Like if you call the phone number that appears on the page, it'll go to my cell phone.
Do you know what the number is?
I do, but I'm not going to say it
Oh,
because we don't want to ruin the test.
okay.
But one, I'm really excited about that. We have our PM offsite next week. So all the product managers at Opendoor report directly to me. They're all ICs. They all report to me. So we have our product manager offsite next week. where we're going to go through every project in the company. I review every project we have every single week. So we're going to do that next week. We're shipping a new underwriting model. We're shipping a new offer model. We're shipping a lot next week. I'm really excited about it. And this, by the way, this is like I'm good at this part of my job. Like shipping product is what I'm good at, and it's where I get my energy from. Today just happens to be earnings day, which is not where I get my energy from. But next week is going to be amazing.
Amazing. I'm glad I asked that question then.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Kaz.
Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it.
Can you, Asian, can you show me the shots of each, what it looks like when we're sitting? Just so I can see the lighting. This is Asian and that's Brett.
Hey guys. Thanks for coming down, man. How long have you been doing this for?
Not that long.
How long is not that long?
With this whole production situation, probably last May.
Okay.
I got my Breck sponsorship, which I know Keith has some
Yeah.
harsh opinions about.
It's fine. Keith has harsh opinions about lots of things.
Hilarious.
That kid's great.
He's hilarious. That started last May, and then and I'm sure you're similar, but like every week I put something out, we have to increase the quality like 10 times. So it's just constantly iterating.
It's the Red Queen's race of giving a fuck about the quality bar is very painful, but necessary.
It's so painful.
Yeah.
I literally try not to have an aneurysm every week when I'm like, why is the audio fucked? Like,
No,
we've been doing this so many times. Like, why is the audio bad?
No, you should see me review like products. It's like very like the problem is this, right? Like the advice you get from people is that you need to like be okay with more things. But the people who give you advice, all of them are not inspiring.
Yeah.
Like it is very it's very real. Like it's like, especially if it's your own thing, like you need to give a fuck about every little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is very like I used to when I was at Shopify. One of the things I used to do is like walk into conference rooms and test the markers, the whiteboard markers. And like anytime there was one that wasn't working, I would send a message to our facility saying, hey, like, because I thought it was such a perfect example of giving a fuck about like the detail of the thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, we all think.
All right, so you probably saw the sheet, but you probably don't even need to see a sheet. We're gonna go through.
I haven't seen the sheet. It's best
You
I
haven't
don't
seen the sheet?
No.
Oh my God.
It's okay. I trust you.
We're gonna go through the last 6 months, metrics, performance, how you're measuring things, macro. It would be really good, even in the beginning, to like set the backdrop of the macro situation of the housing market in America and your positioning. And we'll go into the product, we'll go into the major changes. I want to go deeper into the board. I just feel like the board has been a major part of all of this.
Sure.
And then I have some fun quotes from Keith.
Oh, cool.
From our conversation in
All right.
September. Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's talk roll.
Hey, it's Molly. If you enjoy our interviews, check out our newsletter, Sourcery.vc, where we deliver a once-a-week top deals and tech headlines email, and also go deeper on our podcast interviews. Subscribe to Sourcery today. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen. Link in description to sign up.